Hello, everyone. Welcome to Passion Talks, an inspirational and immersive series of talks by the Times of India and Times Passion Trails. And hope you have learned and benefited like us from these extremely useful and relevant wellness talks by American Express, a mental well-being series. Our topic today, like the previous ones in this mental well-being series, is an extremely critical conversation in present situation. We are discussing today financial planning to support mental well-being. And there can't be a better panel than our guest today. One of the leading banking personalities of the country, SVP and Country Manager India Business and CEO American Express Banking Corp India, Mr. Manoj Adlakha, and Mr. Kunal Shah, founder of CRED and a mentor and role model to many young entrepreneurs. Welcome to Wellness Talks by American Express, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
And my first question is for both of you. How important is financial health for mental peace? Manoj?
Sure. So thank you once again for having me on the show. So, like they say, and it's maybe a cliche, but money can't buy you happiness. While it can't buy you happiness, but lack of money, what it can lead to is anxiety, it can lead to depression, and all of that in turn can have an impact on your mental well-being. So the way I look at this is that it's important. There are a couple of rules that have, at least I've worked with and have stayed with me. One is that we need to have a healthy, maintain healthy financial habits. So we got to understand what is that, and all of us would have, different financial goals. So what is that goal that we set for ourselves? We got to be prudent in our spending needs. We don't need to, and we should not ideally over leverage ourselves. The second is, how do we equip ourselves with financial knowledge? And there are lots of experts that we can, there are lots of books we can read. Internet is our ultimate go-to area where we can pick up stuff from. The third is, depending, of course, on the first item, which is what your goals are, there is a little bit of, calculated risk.
And since you said that we need to look at a lot of experts, recently, one of the experts that everyone seems to be turning to for financial health advice has been Kunal Shah. Kunal, how important is financial health for mental peace?
I think, first of all, it's important to understand that a lot of times mental well-being is not addressed because there is somehow a taboo around conversations about it, right? And somehow financial literacy has become this topic of shame, where a lot of people do not understand that only when they converse about it, talk about it, ask for help, they'll get better at it, right? Most of Indians, I would say 90-95% are probably the first one who are getting a credit card in their family, or probably a loan in their family. And we've not come from affluent families to just know how money works, right? And unless we talk about it, unless we ask dumb questions, I don't think we're going to get better at it, just exactly how mental health works. So to me, a culture of conversations, culture of bringing that into school and college, the amount of, we've all become good at math and zero at financial literacy. We do not understand how different mechanisms work and how investments works and so on and so forth. And the country somehow switches from complete apathy to complete panic, right? But wealth creation is a function of being balanced. And as we create more conversations and create more tools to help us do better, I think we'll keep getting our mental health back and mental peace back.
Manoj, American Express has recently introduced special initiatives to support the merchant community through this pandemic. Can you please elaborate on the same?
Globally for us, the small and medium enterprises are some, they're institutions we are backed, and because they need backing. And never has a time been more critical than now. So globally, what we've done is we've done an initiative which is called Shop Small. And this is across US and a few other international markets, including India, where we have set aside $200 million for the small merchants, small and medium-sized merchants. So the way the program really works is that, in India alone, we have for a period of 3 months set aside at about 40 to 50,000 merchants, wherein if a card member were to go into a merchant, and spend above a certain threshold, then the card member would be paid 300 rupees per transaction. So, and the threshold is only 1500 rupees. Now, the question would be, why are you paying the card member? Why are you not paying the merchant? Because the whole thing is, in times like this, is to get the card member, incentivize him or her. So this is an incentive for the card member to go to the merchant. And so that is one end of it. The other side of the spectrum is what we have done with the merchants alone. These 50,000 merchants that I spoke about, given with what is going on with COVID, we have given them what we call merchant recovery kits. We have given them face masks, face shields, masks. A lot of that has happened with these merchants. And the last thing over there, which has also helped, is we've created an online hub for them. And where we work with some of the leading, online players, which will give them better marketing insights and help them increase their businesses. So those are just some of the initiatives. These are early days. We have just launched this program about a month and a half ago, and it's played out very well. I do want to talk about one more thing over here, which is that we did conduct a survey across many establishments in India, whether they were accepting American Express or not. And two very interesting things came out of that survey. One was the positivity in the fact that 4 out of 5, which is 80% of the these establishments, small and medium again, who said that they will recover from the COVID, which is that was very positive, right? And the second piece, which was actually, it came as a little bit of a and it's linked to the topic we are talking on today, when they were asked, what is that one thing which would really help you during this whole pandemic? And everyone would have thought it would be financial assistance. Yes, financial assistance was important. The number one was at 33%, they said mental well-being for themselves and their employees.
Great. So glad this thing came out.
Yeah.
Really glad, Manoj, that you pointed out. And Kunal, one of the things that has been read a lot is when you spoke about dark side of entrepreneurship. And some of that was about tough times like these. Manoj pointed out the survey where mental well-being is such an important thing. How do young entrepreneurs, startups, so many of those who look up to you, keep going in times like these?
We all have to realize that the best businesses have been born out of crisis. If you look at history, the 2008 crisis created very, very large companies out of that. Even before, if you go back historically, you'll always find stories. And surviving is the number one job of a CEO, right? A lot of people tell me that what is the number one role of a CEO? It's to just not die, just keep it going. And because you will have more opportunities, more chances, more products, more ideas to execute. And I think surviving will never happen without collaborativeness, right? We do not realize in India, because we've never had industrial revolution, as wealth is not zero sum. Wealth keeps increasing as long as we are collaborative and think about increasing the pie, right? I personally dislike a lot of time when people are saying, oh, technology companies are going to disrupt this and disrupt that. I don't think that's the way it operates. A lot of things continue to shape and form, but the overall wealth or the per capita or the GDP is going to keep increasing, right? In these times, we have to understand that consumers are going to have new behaviors. They are shifting their behavior, right? Let's give you a small example. All of us have seen that kids have learned how to learn using laptops and work from home has kind of created this new culture. Yeah. Now, if everybody has figured out how to learn online on a laptop, why shouldn't all of Indians learn from the best physics teacher in this country? Why do we need these millions of teachers who may not be at the same quality as the top 5 teachers, right? And these questions will get asked and a lot of new things will kind of evolve out of that. And if you are not paying attention to the consumer behavior trends, you may miss opportunities because you're holding on to the past, which is now in the past. COVID has accelerated future in some ways, right? So the thing is very simple. In these times, you can either keep being a person who thinks that they are coping. The word coping automatically victimizes your mind and saying that I have to cope with this, or you think of this as an opportunity to kind of thrive and change and redo everything every now and then. I think any company, any founder which is constantly pivoting and becoming different is going to survive this versus kind of hoping for things to come back, because
Mm-hmm.
some behaviors are permanently changed now, right?
True.
Let's think about a scenario that it's going to be very hard for us to go back to cinemas and watch a movie, because now we have all made an investment of getting a larger screen at home and figure out how to kind of enjoy with friends at home in a small group and so on and so forth. And we have now unlimited content coming streaming to our homes. It's going to be hard to make a plan to go there. And I'm not saying it will change. I'm just saying we should not just assume that as soon as there is no end button to COVID, it's
Mm.
be with us. And in that time and the situation, how do we cope as an entrepreneur is going to be the biggest thing. So my advice is that you can either cry about a crisis or completely capitalize on it.
Lovely. And when you said that as a CEO, survival is what you look for, Manoj had a smile on his face. A highly respected MX veteran for about over 30 years. And Manoj, from that experience, let me ask you now, there are buy now, pay later options that appear very lucrative, especially at a time when you need financial flexibility. What is your point of view on EMIs and such options?
Yeah, so that there is what you just referred to, which is buy now, pay later. In financial lingo, everyone's acronyms is the order of the day, so they call it BNPL or SNPL, shop now, pay later. So they cater to a particular segment, and that is really somebody who's new to credit. And these are, the way a buy now, pay later works is that depending on the merchants who've been set up, you can go to a particular merchant. You don't need a physical credit card or anything. And you go and you pay, let's say, you have a 5,000 or a 3,000 rupee transaction. You decide to pay depending on the agreement that you've had with the service provider. You pay it in equated, it could be over 15 days, 30 days, or what have you, and the bill comes. So you don't have to pay any interest. Only if you do not pay up when you're supposed to pay up, do you pay the late payment fee. That's the way it works. Let me talk a little on EMI, which caters to a slightly different segment. So EMI is like a product in product within credit cards. And it's a very, very powerful, the take up, and it could be EPP, which is extended payment plan, or EMI. They mean the same thing, right? It's a very, very powerful and a potent offering, because what that does is typically the way credit cards work, you have what is called a line of credit. So if somebody has a line of credit of 100,000 rupees, that means up to 100,000 rupees, you can go ahead and spend. Now, within an EMI, you could also, the way it works is you could decide you have that fancy for, a smart, let's say iPhone, just hypothetically, and you want to go and put that onto an EMI. So, above a certain value, you can put it on EMI. So you can spend big. That releases your line size. And on that, you decide to pay over the next X period at a very reasonable interest rate. So, so you can decide to pay over 6 months, 12 months, those options available. And also the flexibility is given to you. You can do the EMI either at what is called point of sale, or even after you've completed the transaction, you can call into the bank call center and say, you know what, on this particular transaction, I want to do EMI. So they cater to two different segments. Both are there. BNPL, which is buy now, pay later, is something which has really taken off in countries like Australia and UK. It's a pretty recent phenomenon in India, but I believe there is space for both to coexist.
Kunal, you've been extensively speaking and writing about financial well-being. Are there ways that personal finance can be managed more prudently through use of credit cards and saving instruments?
The problem of having extreme emotions about credit is not going to be useful, because all progress, no matter it's for nation or individuals, will come from credit, right? Credit is a way where we are betting on ourselves and our future in some ways, right? That I'll be good enough to be able to pay something in 6 months, 12 months. We take a home loan and we believe that in 20 years we'll be in a good place. A lot of times when we kind of create instruments that kind of create confusion, a lot of times people constantly feel fear about that. So the way to think about this is that the form factors will keep evolving, right? How we transact, now that all the transactions are happening either online or through a cell phone, through a QR code offline, the form factor will remain. And a lot of people have this misunderstanding that in China everything has become mobile payments, but a lot of people don't understand that Alipay, VPay, which are the largest payment instruments, majority of the transaction happen with a card in the background, right? 80% of all transactions on all these mobile QR systems is the card in the background. And I'm fairly confident that cards will change its form factor. It can come into a form of BNPL or a QR or any of that. In fact, Amex app already allows consumers to use the Amex app on a QR code and use that for that transaction. The thing is that it will keep changing forms factors, because right now the processing power of somebody's cell phone is a lot more than the EDC machines that people are carrying at merchant level now. So the processing power shifting over here, people are going to move to more advanced devices to transfer money. And we also forget one interesting fact about this country is that every house in India has a chief technology officer between the age of 12 and 18. And that person is going to shape the behavior of the family on how they do transactions, how they buy stuff online or offline. And unless we are building for that particular age group, they're going to become irrelevant. And therefore, it is important to build for the future versus the past.
Manoj, credit cards are a good option for the rewards they offer. Now, on a personal front, from someone who was awarded India's most trusted CEO, what is your favorite reward on your card?
Firstly, my favorite card is American Express, and my only card is American Express, needless to say. So, and there are lots of reward options on the card because we cater to various segments. Rewards is a very, very important facet of the overall, card proposition, because at the end of the day, you need to give back. There's a certain price you charge for a card, and the value proposition has to be commensurate with the price that you charge. So in rewards, every time any customer who goes and spends anything, we would love to, we actually do that where we through rewards. And that's, Kunal has done a fantastic job with CRED. And what we do is we have a rewards platform, which has hundreds of thousands of options, which could be TND or non-TND options, where a customer could, decide to whatever points they earn, reward points, they could redeem those points on. One of the things which we did very recently, and that's really taken up in a very big way with our, with our customers, we call it a reward multiplier. And what we have done is spend as you normally do. We have got about 60, 70 brands on that platform, which include the Amazons and Flipkarts and Decathlons and, so on, Marks and Spencers and so on and so forth. And a customer goes on. It's a very easy, friction-free process, just spends as they normally do. And they, depending on the product they hold, get rewards from 2x right up to 10x of what they would normally do. Okay. So it's just something which is fantastic. So, goes back to your point earlier, what I would ideally like, I would like to be rewarded for the spend I normally do, right? I would love access, be it golf courses, hotels, airlines, lounges, those kind of experiences I love. And, the whole package, when I get together, when I put this together on top of that, as a somebody who's responsible and prudent, and he or she, when they get their bill, pays back. And this is to Kunal's earlier point, we also have to be smart in the way we use our, any lending instrument. If you pay back in, let's say, on an average 45 days time, then there is no additional expense that you need to pay.
For paying well, if you get access to that business class lounge and get an upgraded hotel, nothing more satisfying as a customer, where you really feel valued. And Kunal, Manoj rightly pointed out, you've done a fantastic job with the rewards. Let's understand the role of banks and financial institutions from the point of view of CRED ecosystem and American Express from you.
One important nuance to call out in rewards that is a shift in happening in consumer behavior is that reward has become like content, right? Think of a rewards program as like Netflix in some ways, right? You need freshness of content. You can still have the regular shows like Friends playing, and you can keep watching and binge watching them, but you need constantly new freshness that keeps coming in. And unless and until I feel like visiting that, the spends on the card or the spends on the platform will not increase unless the excitement for the rewards platform stays thing. A big difference between the programs that will do well and not do well is the freshness of content versus kind of having the standard offering, because we are operating in a non-standard world. For example, travel's gone. What do we do next? What is the next thing? For example, when COVID hit, We moved all the rewards to digital events and live stand-up comedy and all of that. And I think that ability to pivot to that allows you to kind of stay relevant consistently. That's the first point. Our job is to partner with all the banking and financial institutions and card companies and create superior experiences for them. Can we increase the spends on the card? When we create opportunities to spend more on that card, can we run offers on that card, and so on and so forth? And through the ecosystem, our there is enough revenue to be made in this category, right? In India, I would say 50% or so of the public market cap in India is related to financial services one way or the other. So the thing is that opportunity is big. But if we become a superior interface for, let's say we have chosen the path of focusing on the first 15, 20 million customers versus trying to go for the 200 million customers that many other fintech players are going after. We're working on multiple such things. And if we believe that if we become a superior engagement interface, the consumers will love to work with the banking products through our interface.
Doesn't get more superior than American Express. Manoj, while on the face of it, credit cards may not appear to be a savvy choice for driving savings, but I'm sure you have some tips for our audience, don't you?
Yeah, the only thing I would say there is that, you've got to be prudent, you've got to be responsible, and you've got to manage your financials, right? So it goes back to the first question you had. I think any card member who is responsible will try and ensure that, they're spending within their means, because you don't want to spend and then, start to pay in parts and then revolve. What is the terminology used in credit card industry? Revolve is when you pay in parts and then, you end up paying a slightly high rate of interest. So ideally, you should stay within your means, spend within your means, and pay up as much as you can, right? And goes back to the point I was making earlier, which is that for that spending, right, there are two things which are coming your way. One, you're getting on an average about 40 days of credit free period, right? So and this is also a difference between buy now, pay later, where, here you're getting 40 days of free credit. The second thing you're getting is rewards. And, again, and the third thing, this is unsecured lending. So there is not unlike, let's say, a mortgage or anything else where there's something, over here, it's unsecured lending. Of course, your financials are looked at the first time around when you apply for a card. And the last piece is there are so many, offers which are beyond rewards, right? So right now also you're seeing, all the e-commerce players, there are big sales going on. And if you decide to use your particular card A or a card B on top of whatever sales they have, depending on, the form factor, the payment, particular card type you use, you'll get additional savings. So in a way, it's, savings all the way. You have to be smart on one particular product I'll talk about, which is, like I said, we have a suite of products depending on, the customer segment that we focus. And this product is called the Platinum Travel Card. And we realized that, in the current scenario, travel was, we were giving travel vouchers, or hotel vouchers when customers were reaching a particular threshold. So what we have done, fully being cognizant of the fact that, travel at this point in time may be curtailed because of, COVID, we have changed that to e-commerce vouchers. And, as an example, if somebody spends about 30 to 35,000 rupees a month for a product which is 5,000 rupees, the total savings in terms of all the vouchers put together, you get is about 28,000 rupees at the end of the year. So that is significant. That is remarkable, right? So it pays you 5 times what you paid initially just to hold on to a card.
Seriously, I mean, well put together how to actually use credit card as a very prudent spending choice. And thank you so much for all the insights. To round off, Kunal, a set of advice that you would like to leave our viewers with.
Just two things. One is that, like Manoj earlier called out that being prudent is the best thing that you can do with money, and just kind of avoiding temptations, just having good financial behavior, have a long-term benefits for your financial health as well as mental health, number one. Number two is that extremely important to kind of talk about things if you are in trouble when it comes to matters of money. Conversations will get you out of it, not quietly suffering it, because the magic of compounding is that it can compound your problems very, very fast, exponentially.
Seriously important advice. And Manoj, your suggestions in terms of getting through this phase of uncertain times and maintain financial well-being?
I'll put it at a slightly broader level over here, which is that a couple of takeaways which I would want to leave the viewers with. Have empathy. That is the number one priority for all of us. Take
Absolutely.
care of each other. Start with taking care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your loved ones. Take care, be there for each other. Be, and all of this is a crazy time. Nobody's seen these times. Nobody had thought that, when we got into 2020, Kunal spoke about the visa program, and I remember him, how excited he was, and the opportunity was huge. But who would have thought that 2020 is going to, this is the way 2020 would unfold. So what we need to be doing right now is to be there for each other, and there will be vulnerabilities. Show the vulnerable side, let it come out. It's okay, it's fine, right? People are going to make mistakes. There will be short tempers, disagreements, but as long as we're there for each other, as long as we know we have each other's back, we will tide this over. And as we do this, we got to take care of ourselves physically and on a mental well-being, because if that is provided for, I think we're going to be good.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kunal Shah and Manoj Adlakha, for these wonderful advice and tips. Thank you so much. It's really been a very good learning experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope all our viewers, you have enjoyed our series of wellness talks by American Express as much as we personally have learned from each episode. We hope this series helps you in better mental, physical, and financial planning for overall well being and help ace the new normal. Thank you.